Last night, over 300 players participated in the Late Night 108 with Paldea Evolved legal. We'll start out by looking at the metagame and the win rates for each archetype, and then also going into the top 16 deck lists from the tournament. So, Gardevoir had a 17% meta share, and let's keep in mind that these are some of the first events with Paldea Evolved out, so I do think that newer archetypes will have a boosted play rate because people want to try out the new cards, and these decks have hype around them. There's more things to try out, but there's also going to be some older archetypes, and their meta shares are going to fluctuate a lot in the coming weeks leading up to NAIC. So Gardevoir, not a new archetype, but it gains a lot from Paldea Evolved, and it was 17% of the 300 plus players. So 54 players used Gardevoir EX. And then there's also Reversal Guardy with another 8 players. So over 60 were playing Gardevoir EX of some type. But they've separated the Reversal Guardy into a separate category, which I like because it does play very, very differently. Then we have Chi and Pal Excalibur. I didn't expect Excalibur to be this popular and widely accepted by the player base. I did not expect that. So 13% with 42 Chi and Pal Excalibur, and then exactly 10%, or very, very close, 31 players with Lost Zone Box. 27 players or 8% with Lugia, Giratina Lost Zone at 6, Ting Lu EX at 6%, and Fusion Mew at 6%. Everything else is 5% or lower. So I'm only going to look at the win rates for decks with at least a 5% meta share. And out of those, the best win rates were Fusion Strike Mew at 58% win rate, Giratina Lost Zone Box at 53% win rate, and Lost Zone Box at 55% win rate. And if we think about the decks and the archetypes that everyone's attention is on right now, I think it makes sense that these archetypes are succeeding because right now the spotlight is kind of on Gardevoir. Gardevoir had a 46% win rate. This is partially because the player base that's playing is now wider, so there's more people in the distribution of skill level and preparedness and experience picking up the deck. The same for GM Pal Excalibur. It's the new shiny deck, so there's going to be a wider array of players on the distribution of skill level picking up the deck. So usually the most popular decks can't really keep a win percentage above 50%. Um, Now the decks that did do really well, Lost Zone Box, which is split into a couple different things, but actually Lost Box Charizard is now its own archetype on Play Limitless. Only 5 people played it, but it did have a very good win percentage. But it's really not significant to look at that because so few people played it. So let's look at Lawson Box real quick. Let's see the kind of cards that are being included. More than half of the players are including V Pokemon and Forest Seal Stones. If we could just find Forest Seal Stones. So yeah, you'll see 0.65% of lists included Raikou V and Dragonite V. 0.39% included Drapion V, 0.48 included Kyogre. Um, You'll also see some more fringe things being experimented with here, of like a 1/1 Vulpix V-Star, Kaparaja EX, which is something that I've seen from Japanese lists as well. And then for Chi and Palbeck's Caliber, there's also some interesting things to see in the cards section. So there were a couple of players using a 1/1 line of Arceus V. So Arceus V is going to show up as a very small percent for the deck, because most people have been playing Palkia V-Star. But the highest placing list at this event was actually one with a 1/1 Arceus line in it. And something else I wanted to look at was Lost Zone Box's matchups. Lost Zone Box went positive against Gardevoir, positive against Lugia Archeops, which is actually really odd because Lugia is one of the weirdest matchups for a lot of decks, including Lost Zone Box, because Lugia is still very frustratingly strong. Lost Box had 66% win rate against Chi and Palbac's Caliber. That's pretty high. It pretty much had a high win percentage against all of the meta decks except slightly underperforming against itself because of the ties. So that makes sense. Um, so yeah, all of the popular decks, it had at least a 50% win rate against, with Ting Lu being the lowest at 50%. Arceus Duraludon, there were only 6 Arceus Duraludon in the tournament. This went 40% against it. That's a pretty awkward matchup for Lost Zone, especially assuming that they're playing Lost Cities. So you lose your Pokemon to the Lost Zone against this deck. That could be really awkward. Also, they have a lot of HP. They also have Charin's Care or Volo to heal Pokemon. So really impressive matchups from Lawson Box. Now let's look at the top 16 deck lists. Starting at 16th place, we have Alex Shamanski with Chi and Pal Baxcalibur, and he is one of the players who used the 1/1 Arceus V-Star line in Chi and Pal Baxcalibur. So I think this is built for consistency with a tiny bit of tech in it. So 3 Chi and Pal EX, I think 3 Chi and Pal EX seems really smooth, as well as 303 of Baxcalibur, and then instead of the Palkia V-Star as the backup option in case you don't get your Baxcalibur up, the Arceus V-Star to just guarantee that you get Baxcalibur set up seems pretty nice. Of course, it does it does mean that you have to get those Frigibaxes down and that they have to stay there, because Palkia V-Star's pro compared to Arceus V-Star is that Palkia V-Star can accelerate energy itself, whereas Arceus V-Star is going to have to use Starbirth to get the Candy Baxcalibur or whatever other piece you need, to put the Frigibax, to evolve the Frigibax into Baxcalibur. But if your Frigibaxes get KO'd, then obviously you can't do that. So there is a limitation to Arceus V-Star, but I think more often Arceus V-Star is going to get you the setup that you want, whereas Palkia V-Star has a little bit of a better emergency button to press. You know, I love the canceling Cologne to boss up a Manaphy, then Moonlight Shuriken, 2 Pokemon on the bench, leave a Manaphy useless in the active, or maybe even knock out the Manaphy if you think they don't have enough Super Rods or Claras left to bring back the Manaphy. You might even be able to get 2 Moonlight Shurikens off, or Moonlight Shuriken and a Dynamic Wave from Kyogre. So we'll actually be coming back to a list just like this, higher up the rankings. Also let's check out Alex's matchups real quick. So in Swiss, he went 7-2. He lost to a Dialga Magnezone, which, you know, that's just kind of an anomaly. You're not going to expect to play against Dialga Magnezone. Take a loss to it, okay. That's your one rogue deck that you lost to. And then also lost to Lawson Box. And this player, Joe Hagashi, went on a tear. They started the event off 10-0 before finally losing the mirror match to the eventual winner of the tournament, Jeremy Gibson. Uh, so let's skip ahead real quick and just look at this list since we're already there. So, a very turbo build of Lost Zone, similar to what Azul and Grant and Caleb and Danny were playing with the trekking shoes. So, 3 Forest Hill Stone, 3 trekking shoes, a Pal Pad, so if you Pokestop away your supporters, you can still Pal Pad them back. I think the Pal Pad makes Pokestops worst case scenarios a lot less scary. So I kind of do like the Pal Pad, even though it's like it feels kind of weird playing a Pal Pad in a Lost Zone deck. It makes the Pokestop less scary. So um, I can't say that it's definitely better, but I can say that I like the Pal Pad. And then obviously you can get your passes, your gate, your trekking shoes, nest ball, vacuum, switch cart, rope, all of that stuff, and the Pal Pad, super rod, recycler. You can get all of that with Pokestop. You can't get the Forest Seal Stone with Pokestop, but that's not too big of a deal because Forest Seal Stone is just a card that gets you another card. It's not the card itself. So you can actually get back everything with Pokestop because the items go to your hand. The Pokemon you can get back with Super Rod, the Energy Super Rod or Clara or Energy Recycler, and now you can also get the supporters back with Pal Pad. So Pokestop feels so much better to me when you see the Pal Pad in the deck. The Pokemon lineup is super simple. Uh, Raikou Dragonite Drapion, cover all the matchups. No Sky Seal Stone, just going with 3 Forest Seal Stone. I do think in a closed deck list environment, 1 Sky Seal Stone can be really good though. And then 1 Cramorant, 2 Sableye, Greninja. Like I said, it's pretty simple Pokemon lineup for this deck list. And this was from Joe Hagashi, who placed third overall. Now let's get back to going in order from the bottom. Next is Evan Campbell with Fusion Strike Meloetta. And there were multiple players who used Ice Cube in this tournament because I think Ice Cube did well in a Japanese event in Fusion Strike Mew. So Ice Cube came out in Brilliant Stars. It has the Block Slider attack. This attack does 40 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each Fusion Strike energy attached to all of your Pokemon. So it can do 160 or 120. 160 is cool because that's exactly enough to knock out a Baxcalibur versus Chien Pao. But it can also just snipe a damaged Pokemon on the bench or just snipe whatever you want, really. No Deoxys, just the Meloetta. So I do wonder what this deck's Lost Zone matchup is like because of no Deoxys, because that's a pretty good attacker into Lost Zone. So let's see. Evan only played against 1 Lost Zone, which was Jeremy, who won the event and lost. So yeah, maybe this very, very small sample size, only played against 1 Lost Zone. But maybe this build of Fusion Strike Mew is not as strong against Lost Zone as the one with Deoxys. Next, we have 6 piloting Gardevoir. We'll just crack open the Gardevoir list real quick, take a look. They are playing Sky Seal Stone. They're also playing 2 Zacian V. So yeah, Sky Seal Stone and second Zacian V is really the thing to take note of for this list that makes it any different than other lists. Let's take a look at the matchups. Lost to Lawson Giratina, lost to Reversal Guardy, Chien Pao, and Mew VMAX. Played against 0 Lawson Box. Then we have King Slowking with Ting Lu in the top 16. Playing Radiant Alakazam, also playing Spiritomb. Other than that, looks like a normal Ting Lu list. Really, it just varies. Do you play Alakazam or do you play Radiant Greninja? And then some people play the Spiritomb for the Mew matchup. Let's see what the matchups were that we lost here with Ting Lu. Giratina lost, so and that's a bad matchup. Guardy is a bad matchup. Mew is winnable, and Lugia is winnable. They beat the only Lawson Box they played against. They beat all 3 Chien Pao that they played against. Beat a Reversal Guardy. So Gardevoir is not a good matchup for Ting Lu. Lugia is pretty shaky. Giratina Lawson Box is not a good matchup for Ting Lu. Pretty much your Arceus matchups are good. Your Mew matchup can be good. The Lost Zone Box matchups are very good. So there's Ting Lu that made top 16. Next, we have another Fusion Strike Mew. It's also playing the Ice Cube. We won't spend too much time on the deck lists once we get to a point where they're kind of looking the same as ones we've already looked at. But that one was also playing Oricorio, which was different. Next, we have All Out Blitzel, top 16 with Giratina Lost Zone. Now let's check this out. They're playing Wochi NEX and Giratina. This is cool. This is something worth noting. They're also playing the Tropius with Rally Back. It does 120 if one of your Pokemon were knocked out by damage last turn. So 120 times 2 is 240, so it knocks out Tyranitar V. So it makes the Lugia matchup better. Let's see what their matchups were. They actually played against 0 Lugias, it looks like. They lost to a Chien Pao, they lost to a Guardy, they lost to Lost Zone Box, and they lost to Lost Zone Box. So I think Tina is an interesting deck to consider right now. Its Lugia matchup is weird, and its Lost Zone Box matchup is weird. But I think its Guardy matchup is like, I don't know if it's favored, but like it's better than a lot of decks Guardy's matchups are. So I kind of like it for that reason. Like it's close enough against Gardevoir, so I like that. Then we have Lost Zone Box at 10th place, and they're playing Choice Belt. They're playing the same lineup as the recent list that we just looked at. From I want to say it was from Joe Hagashi that we looked at that had Dragonite, Drapion, Raikou, 3 Forest Seal Stone. Um, in place of the Pal Pad, this list has the Choice Belt, which Choice Belt's going to be good against Arceus decks for Dragonite. It could also be good against Palkia for Dragonite, but you have Raikou for that. Again, Lugia, but you have Raikou for that. Choice Belt's also good against Tyranitar V, though, because Tyranitar V with a V-Guard energy cannot be knocked out by any of your stuff in one hit. More Fusion Strike Mew, Meloetta, Ice Q, or Corio. So the Ice Q was pretty popular in this tournament. Then we have two Lugias in top 8. So the first one we have here is Colorless Lugia. Colorless Lugia playing 3 Snorlax, a Weirder V, Luxray. So the thing about this list is that it just loses to Duraludon, but Duraludon wasn't very popular at this tournament, so it looks like it was fine. Playing Reversal Energy for the Luxray, and I guess also for Archeops you can attack with the Reversal Energy. Therapeutic Energy to remove special conditions, Gift Energy, V-Guard, 4 Jet Energies for moving around, and 4 double turbos as well. And I'm interested for the matchups here from Colorless Lugia. So they lost to Arceus Giratina, they lost to Giratina Lawson, they lost to Guardy, and they lost to Lawson Box. I mean, Lugia kind of just has, I don't even know what to call its matchup spread, because I feel like most decks are scared against Lugia because Lugia can kind of just do anything. I'm not sure if I feel that way about Lost Zone Lugia though. Like the Tyranitar V with a V Guard energy scares me as a Turbo Lost Zone player, and they don't have it in that deck. More Fusion Strike Mew, again Ice Q. So the Ice Q was really, really being played at this event. Then we got Jared with Chi and Pal being the highest placing Chi and Pal. I think this is the same list Alex Shamanski played. If not the same, then it's very, very similar. And Jared lost to Lawson, lost to Tina, lost to Lawson, lost to Lawson. So Lawson Box kind of farmed up on this Chi and Pal deck, it looks like. And then we've got one more Lugia V-Star, and it's Colorless Lugia again. So Colorless Lugia got 2 top 8s. Very similar list here. And then Gardevoir in top 4. And this Gardevoir deck was weird. I don't think this is indicative of what high placing Gardevoir decks will look like. The Squawkabilly EX is odd. I guess the Spiritomb makes sense. Double Zacian, I don't think is going to be the norm, but both of the lists in the top 16 are playing Double Zacian. Yeah, I don't really like this list, but it's also different than the lists I'm used to, so that could be why. I've also been testing, instead of Temple of Sinnoh, I've been playing either Champions Festival or Artisan in my lists online because Temple of Sinnoh was bugged. Maybe they fixed that because this person made it into top 4 with Temple of Sinnoh, and I imagine they probably put the stadium card into play once or twice throughout the event. Then we have 3 Lost Zone Box decks taking up the top 3 placements. We already looked at Joe's list here. They went on a 10-0 streak. Then we have Caleb Rogerson with another similar list. They're all playing kind of the turbo build. This is Trekking Shoes as well. No Pal Pad in this one. Only one Pokestop. And then the winner was Jeremy Gibson, playing a single prize variant of Lost Zone with the Snorlax, with Kyogre, with 2 Energy Recycler, 2 Super Rod, and a Clara. 3 Pokestop and a Pal Pad as well in there. I think this list is very interesting, and I definitely want to try it some more myself. I'm not sure if I like the amount of attackers that it has. Like, you have Cramorant, Snorlax, Ninja, and then Sableye for Lost Mine, Kyogre for Aqua Storm. So I definitely think this one's going to be a little more intricate to play than the Turbo Lost Zone deck. So if you're interested in this, I think be prepared for a bit of a learning curve. If you want a challenge, I think this deck can obviously be very good. It won this event. Let's look at their matchups. So they lost to the mirror match and the mirror match. The only thing they lost to was the mirror match. They beat a Ting Lu. They beat 1, 2, 3. They beat 4 mirror matches. So they went 4-2 in the mirror. That's promising. They beat 1, 2, 3, 4 Gardevoir decks, one of them being Reversal Guardy. They beat 3 Lawson Giratina. they beat Fusion Strike Mew, and they beat the only Lugia they played against. So that matchup spread's really, really promising in my opinion for the Lawson decks. I also think, like I mentioned earlier, I think Lawson was a little underestimated or the attention was not on Lawson Box right now because the attention has been on the new cards and Gardevoir, which again isn't a new card, but it got better with this set. There's my quick review on the Late Night 108 with Paldea Evolved on PlayLimitlessTCG.com. I'll leave a link to this in the description so you guys can check out all the deck lists and the metagame for yourself if you wish. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.